What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market and how this may affect NIO, and also what NIO put on their Twitter page, which is very good news for the long-term future. Now, before I break anything down though, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free Tesla share, a free NIO share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So NIO was down 6.84% for the day on Friday. We do actually notice, if we look at the charts, back in, I believe this was May, NIO actually formed this big gap over here. And this gap actually comes all the way down to that like low $13 level. And if you look at NIO recently, over the last like couple of weeks, we have been seeing NIO declining over and over again. If you look at the chart, it's been coming down and down and down and down. It did get a small bounce, but since then it's ended up just coming down again, and we're currently at about 13.76, so $13.76 a share. And it does look like NIO is coming closer and closer to this gap fill area or the low $13 range. So I don't really like to be one of those people to like spread FUD or say I don't believe in the company. That's not at all what I'm saying. I believe in this company. I'm super bullish long term. But during these downtrends in the market, during these recessions and market disruptions by the Fed, markets, stocks, they will drop no matter how great fundamentals could be. There are companies that have very strong fundamentals like Tesla, like T-Mobile. They are just tumbling down, at least they have been tumbling down, and they do have potential to continue tumbling down from there. So with that said, it is looking like NIO is in a very similar state. It does look like NIO is going to come down a bit more from here. I'm hoping for a very nice bounce, very close to 13 to 12.5. And that's what I'm essentially seeing for the near-term future for NIO. Now, overall, the market is still pretty fearful. However, we do have CPI coming out within the next couple of days. If you look at the data, CPI is actually coming out on October 13th, 2022. The last time it came out, you have to remember, the market rallied approaching the CPI date. Then we had a big dump when we missed on CPI, when CPI was hotter than expected. So in this case, when I'm looking at the data, it's looking like how we move is going to depend on CPI. If the market gets another big crash or if the market gets a big bounce, it's very important. We did see gas come down in the month of September. I'm hoping that this is a good sign, but it also came down in the month of August, and it didn't really help the report that came out in September. So that's why we have to be very cautious and very careful from here. All I could really say is that the market might actually rally a bit going into like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm hoping that it does. And when I say that, I don't think we're immediately just going to rally. I think we could come down a bit, get a nice bounce, and then start pushing up temporarily. And then how we move on Wednesday depends on CPI from there on out. So for NIO, what does this definitely mean? Well, I do believe NIO is going to come down to this gap fill area, which would be between around 13 bucks. We could actually come as low as like $12.50 a share. Over the last few weeks, I was saying something people did not like to hear, and I was telling you that I had seen NIO coming down to that 12 to 13 range. And I know it's very uncomfortable. I know it's very painful for a lot of investors being invested in the stock and to hear that. However, it's a very good buying opportunity. So for NIO, what I'm anticipating is NIO to get a big bounce somewhere. All right, that's what I'm essentially seeing. And where are we going to bounce? If we do push up into open, I'd be very careful with it, but I think it's more likely that NIO comes down to this range right here. Into open, NIO might push up a bit, try to show some life. Maybe it tries to push up to like almost 14 bucks, but I think what's more likely to happen is we get a rejection and we slowly, somewhere tomorrow, we get a big drop again. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, it may come again in the future. We might fill this gap around that 13 range, but I'm not sure if we're just going to immediately bounce off 13 or if we come as low as like 12.5. That's also very possible. So please be ready for that. But once we fill that gap, once we approach that 12.5 to 13 range, I think it's very possible for NIO to get a big bounce, then start pushing up, then slowly going to the next couple of days. It comes all the way back up like this and starts to fill these like $14 gaps, to 15, 16s, and it starts pushing up as you approach CPI like that. But as of right now, I'm seeing a move that looks a little bit like this, NIO entering the low to mid $13 range, kind of closing around here. So I am anticipating some more downside, guys. Completely normal, completely okay, because I do see some more potential for a bounce very soon for this stock. Now, if we do bounce immediately and we start pushing up going into like tomorrow, if NIO could break and hold that $14 range, we just stay above the 14s, we just hold it, hold it, hold it, it's very possible for us to fill the gap at 14.72. So we could be bullish. It's just a little bit less likely, and it seems more likely we're going to come down first before we bounce, in my honest opinion. This is what I'm essentially seeing NIO doing. And despite that, you have to remember something, all right? NIO is not a bad company. They just announced some very big news, which I mentioned in my previous videos. Once again, I want to remind everyone, they stated on their Twitter page that NIO unveiled details of its products and services for Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, and Sweden at its European launch event in Berlin. NIO will continue to build a community to deliver the best user experience. Once again, huge news. NIO is still expanding to more countries. Now, once again, NIO are doing something very different from other countries, and that is they are playing a game of chess right now. They are planning way ahead into the future. They're going to be existent all over the world while the EV market is starting to explode. And they know once economies start to recover, once the markets start to do better, that's where they're really going to blossom. They're entering these places now. They're not waiting any minute. They're doing it as soon as possible. And that's what makes me very excited. So for the short term, all right, NIO may come down to the low 13s, and we could actually approach that 12.5 to $13 range very soon. Please don't panic if you see that. But also note, we have potential for a temporary bounce and a bit of a push up for the next couple of days until we approach Wednesday. So please be very ready for a potential bounce. And it is possible for us to just push up starting as early as tomorrow, but I just think it's a little bit less likely because of the gap. So I am anticipating some downside tomorrow, guys. It's a little bit more likely for a bounce. But until then, you also have to note this is once again another good opportunity to buy those dips, because if the market does crash relatively soon, more opportunities will come, but we don't truly know how low NIO would go, or if NIO would even like crash much lower than where it is right now, because it's already very oversold relative to its all-time high. This is a very good opportunity to dollar cost average down if you want, right? Not financial advice, by the way. And this will really, really pay off in the long-term future, in my opinion, because NIO has so much growth potential. It just needs time, just as many other companies in the US and all over the world do as well. So with that said, NIO is oversold from an RSI perspective. We could get a bounce soon, but before we bounce, we could see that gap build down to the low 13s. I'm hoping for a bounce between 12.5 to 13. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is bright, and peace out.